time to go to film school and bring in my good friend, our good friend, Joe Fortunato, on board with us. And it's the religious holiday weekend. And Joe is going to go back in time and talk about one of the movies that I remember as a little one, as one of those iconic films. And Joe, I'll let you take it from there, my friend. Welcome to film school again, Joe. Go ahead.
Well, good morning, Ray. Good morning, everybody. And Ray, I got to tell you, I'm barely hearing you, so hopefully you can hear me okay.
Yeah, we hear you fine.
All right, great. Well, again, welcome, everybody, and happy Easter weekend. And to sort of celebrate the Easter weekend, we are going to do one of my favorite films, and one that maybe a lot of you enjoy as well, every year, in fact. That's the Ten Commandments from 1956. Getting my numbers there disposed. October 5th, 1956, when it was released, directed by the great Cecil B. DeMille, written by various writers, but at the end of the credits, it says, and the Holy Scriptures, which I always enjoy as kind of a fun credit. It stars, of course, Charlton Heston as Moses, Yul Brynner, Ann Baxter, Edward G. Robinson, Yvonne DiCarlo, Vincent Price, John Derek, and it just goes on and on. We don't have time for all of it, but it's such a star-studded cast. It was nominated for 7 Oscars, including Best Picture, which it didn't win. It only won one Oscar for Best Visual Effects, and not a big surprise there. The effects are pretty great for 1956. No acting nominations, ironically, given the breadth of that cast. And as probably a lot of you know, the film has aired annually on U.S. network television in prime time during the Easter/Passover season, all the way back since 1973. So over 50 years, we've had the film on network television every year. And for a lot of families, it's a tradition. And I know, even though I own the movie on disc, sometimes I'll be tuning into it when it's on TV, just because I love the experience. The film was huge. Of course, most people know that Cecil B. DeMille is sort of synonymous for big epics. This was produced at a then staggering cost of $13 million. It became Paramount's highest grossing movie of all time. And for many years, it was second only to Gone with the Wind as the most successful movie in box office history, until Sound of Music actually broke that record many years later. Again, huge. 14,000 extras, 15,000 animals used in the movie. The script contained 308 pages, 70 speaking parts, and over 1,200 storyboard sketches. So massive is an understatement when we're talking about this film. And even though the film crew traveled to Egypt to shoot some significant portions of Sinai, Exodus, the Red Sea sequences, most of the movie was actually shot right at the Paramount Pictures sound stages in Hollywood. And then a lot of footage from Egypt was used for the background. Interesting about the casting here, Cecil B. DeMille picked Charlton Heston for the role of Moses because he had a slight resemblance to Michelangelo's statue of Moses in Rome, Italy. In fact, Charlton Heston had 9 different beards throughout the film. And in terms of other casting, when Yul Brynner was told that he would be playing the Pharaoh Ramses opposite Charlton Heston, and that he would be shirtless for most of the movie, he began a rigorous weightlifting program because he didn't want Heston to physically overshadow him. And that kind of explains his buffer-than-normal physique during The King and I, which he made just after this film. So a good couple of years there for Yul Brynner. This is one film that Yul Brynner loved of his. And according to his son, Yul Brynner was very proud of this performance. He was very proud of being in the film. He regarded it as maybe one of the biggest films he ever made. Some of the production elements, we talked about the special effects. Of course, the plagues are a big part of the film. The hailstones that fell into the pavilion of Ramses' palace were actually pieces of popcorn that had been spray painted white. Popcorn was very convenient. It was light. It wouldn't hurt Yul Brynner, and it could be swept up and used again. One of the plagues, the frogs, actually was filmed but not used because the frogs left the muddied Nile. They came up on land. They chased the characters. But DeMille felt that the scene was not really frightening enough. In fact, it might even be considered comical. So he actually omitted it in the final cut. And then the scene where the slaves are working in the brick pits under the sweltering sun was actually filmed on an ice-cold soundstage. So the mud wouldn't dry under the studio lights. And the scantily clad actors were actually freezing during the film and had to be covered with oil to simulate the sweat.
Yeah, amazing. The cinematography in this movie, going as far back as it was, like the parting of the sea and everything you're bringing up, Joe, it's amazing they were able to do that. And that's a credit to Cecil B. DeMille and the creativity with this movie.
Yeah, and that's why it did win an Oscar for Best Visual Effects. And even today, I think if you go to or at least they did, semi recently, if you go to the Universal Studios tour in California, they have, when you take the tram ride, they have the parting of the Red Sea, which is kind of interesting. We talk about casting sometimes, and Burt Lancaster was actually considered for Moses, which, of course, it's so, in our memory of Charlton Heston, but I could actually see Burt Lancaster in that role.
Me too.
Edward G. Robinson, who's also in the film, said that Cecil B. DeMille kind of saved his career by hiring for this movie because Robinson had been almost blacklisted for political activism, and the work offers he was getting had dried up, and DeMille hiring Robinson really brought back his career to some extent. Some other interesting might have been casting choices. Joan Crawford wanted to play a small role, so DeMille actually offered her the part of Bithia, Moses' adoptive mother. DeMille also interviewed Bette Davis for another role. In the end, neither actress was cast, but how great would that have been? Audrey Hepburn was originally slated for the role of Nefertiti, and the producer and director DeMille, he decided reluctantly, of course, to pass on her because she was judged too slender, which was a nice way of him saying too flat-chested. So Audrey Hepburn not in the movie because she was too slight of frame. And one of my favorite little Easter egg casting bits, Charlton Heston's newborn son, by the name of Fraser, actually played the infant Moses in the film. So the infant Moses floating down the river, that's actually Charlton Heston's son.
It's amazing. And you mentioned the extras. Joe, that's amazing with the amount of extras they were able to bring in for this movie.
Yeah, exactly. And it was so big. And there's a kind of a funny story. It's kind of long. I don't know if I can distill it here, but according to Hollywood lore anyway, during one of the the famous orgy sequences when the Hebrews are all acting crazy while Moses is up on the mount, DeMille was very famous for giving long-winded direction, and he was droning on and on and on. And this young woman, this extra in the cast, started talking to her friend, not paying attention, and DeMille stopped the whole his whole lecture, as it were. And he says, perhaps the young woman would care to enlighten us and tell us what the devil is so important she can't wait until after we make this shot. After there was an embarrassing pause, the young woman spoke up and boldly confessed, I was just saying to my friend here, I wonder when that bald-headed old fart is going to call lunch. And without missing a beat, DeMille stared at her for a moment, paused, lifted his megaphone, and shouted, lunch. So he did it very well.
I love it. The Ten Commandments, certainly one to dig off the shelf for this Holy Weekend for sure. Joe, great job with the Ten Commandments, as you always do. Way to bring the A game. Appreciate the time, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you. I look forward to our next film together, and we'll see you next week.
There you go. Joe Fortunato takes us to film school each and every Friday at this time.